Hey everybody, I'm Andrea Olson with Go Diaper-Free, and I'm going to record podcast number 96 right now. It's about when will my baby resist the potty? So let's do that right now. Welcome to the Go Diaper-Free podcast, where we're all about helping you stop depending on diapers as early as birth. I'm your host, Andrea Olson, author and mom of 5 babies, all EC'd from birth, all out of diapers by walking. This is episode 96, When Will My Baby Resist the Potty? A little peek at when babies in our community resist the potty. So you can read the written version of today's show, as always, over at godiaperfree.com/96, where I'm also going to link to all the things I mentioned in today's episode, and I have a few graphics that are up there as well that you need to see. I'll also be replying to comments over there, so come on by when you're finished. So when starting elimination communication with your baby, you probably have a bazillion questions, like, how often will my baby need to pee? When can I expect my baby to be potty independent, like totally done with this? I've heard about potty pauses. When can I expect my baby to resist the potty? And that last question, my friends, is what we're going to address today. But I'm not going to just guesstimate when your baby might resist the potty. I'm going to share with you the actual results that I've gathered from surveying 855 people from our community who have done EC with their babies. So there is a little graphic over on the show notes blog post page that says, how old was your baby when you began EC? And you'll see the pie chart there. 73% of those in this survey started EC between 0 and 7 months. And even more impressively, 52% of them started EC between birth and 3 months old. So I'm so excited that people are starting EC at earlier and earlier ages. Just had to say that. And from all of these people that I surveyed, the biggest age for resistance is 12 to 13 months old. And there is a graphic over on the show notes that says, did your baby show resistance to the potty during any of these age ranges? And it's got a whole bunch there, and you can see how things line up. And this is not to set your expectations of when your baby is definitely going to resist, but it's just to show the trends that we have experienced, just so you know what may or may not be coming. And then I'll also at the end of this show show you what to do about it. So 32.6% of the parents I surveyed, almost a third, said their babies resisted the potty at 12 to 13 months old. I'd like to explain what's probably going on here. You guessed it, walking. So most babies begin walking at around 1 year old. Dr. Sears says, quote, around 50% of babies walk by the time they're 1 year old, but there is a wide normal age range of walking from 9 to 16 months, end quote. So when doing EC, we know that if babies are working on a developmental task, they often resist other things until the task has been mastered. It's almost like babies are saying, don't bother me, I am focusing right now. So they will often resist the potty when there's a developmental milestone going on. Now, the Wonder Weeks also backs this up, but on a mental level. They indicate that certain stormy periods are usually proof of progress. Specifically, the Wonder Weeks website says, quote, babies cry during a leap because they've reached a radical new step in their mental development. That is good. It gives them the opportunity to learn new things. The difficult behavior is actually a signal that great progress is underway. Like the physical growth spurts that a child makes, the mental development of children is also made with leaps. Neurological research has shown that such leaps are accompanied by changes in the brain, end quote. And funny enough, you guys, Leap 8 in the Wonder Weeks program occurs in between months 12 and 13. There is no coincidence here. And here's a little quote from them about Leap 8 and what it entails. Shortly after the first birthday, at around 55 weeks, your little one will have gone through another big change in his mental development and will be ready to explore the world of programs. This will make her seem even more like a little person with her own way of approaching the world. A watchful parent will begin to see the blossoming of a new understanding in the toddler's way of thinking. End quote. So that's from the Wonder Week site. Definitely check that out in that book if you haven't seen it. It's pretty helpful in predicting rough patches for EC, sleeping, feeding, everything. But what I want to say about it is programs, the world of programs. This is why wrapping up EC between 12 and 18 months is so appropriately timed, because the world of programs and having her own way of approaching the world, having this set routine for pottying at this time is so in alignment with their development. It's amazing. But then why would babies resist the potty at this age? So first we can look at what causes potty pauses. And I have another podcast on this over at episode 23. I'll link to that in the show notes. I've mentioned this so many times before on this podcast and in my book. If we lived in an indigenous intact culture with an intact community model of cohabitating closely, living in the same spaces, our babies would no longer need us to help them go potty in the proper place when they start crawling. And especially when they start walking, they would no longer need our help. The fact that we wear clothing and go to the bathroom inside a room with a door on a toilet or a potty that they have to figure out how to get onto, and they have to let you know ahead of time so you can help, all of these aspects can cause friction with a focused, willful baby. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The older kids in the community and family would just show this baby where to go when mobility hits. But in our modern societies, this has changed. So we get potty pauses. We get children who resist being on the potty at these ages. So this misalignment most definitely causes resistance, and this is an opportunity, though, for the parent to give the child more control over the process. Yes, a potty pause is an opportunity. I know some of you might be mad at me right now, but it's true. So you can give your child more control over the process by beginning to hand off the baton, teach certain things, part of the process, the whole routine, and support your baby with privacy, like with turning your back or leaving the room when your child is safely sitting on a toilet reducer atop the big toilet, and we'll talk about that. So this is why we have a lot of resistance from 12 to 13 months. We've got walking, we've got potty pauses, we've got just the fact that they just need more control over the process. The next ages of resistance are 0 to 11 months and 8 to 9 months. They're kind of tied. 10 to 11 months, 26.2% of parents experience resistance then. And this is also related to the walking milestone, in my opinion and my experience, because we've got a range of 9 to 16 months for walking per Dr. Sears. The next highest is 8 to 9 months, 25.8% of parents. And you guessed it, I think this is also about a developmental milestone. They're a real big thing, you guys. Since 50% of babies are walking by 1 year old and the range begins at 9 months old, this totally makes sense that we would start to have resistance as a developmental milestone is beginning. So with EC, developmental milestones cause blips in ECN resistance. So do things like teething, medical issues, divorce, moving, traveling, stuff like that. Zoom out and see is there something else going on. And you'll usually find the source of that resistance. Okay, so now we have the 8 to 13 month period covered. Finally, I want to talk about 14 to 15 months and 18 to 24 months. They're almost tied as the next most common resistant period, 24.3% and 24.2%, respectively. So long-term memory development begins at 14 months and goes through about 18 months per baby center. This could be a partial reason that we've got a lot going on in brain development, that we've got a lot of kids who start to resist around 14 months and then start to resist again at the end of this period around 18 months. But more than that, I would assume that these babies at 14 to 15 months are ready to be done with EC and ready to be out of diapers and to own their process. So at 14 to 15 months, we can stop using daytime diapers if we haven't already. And now you can read about or listen to my podcast on number 78 about Twyla and why we took her out of diapers at 13 months and how. We can also wrap up elimination communication with number 1, pure EC, just moving from part-time to full-time, or becoming more matter-of-fact and adamant about it, just taking it more seriously. We can do my hybrid plan to wrap up. That's number 2. That is a free download that comes with my Go Diaper-Free book, which is a blend of EC and potty training for those in 12 to 18-month range. Or number 3, we can wrap up EC with a potty training experience. In other words, we do potty training as though you've never done EC before with my book for older kids, the Tiny Potty Training Book. I also have a wrapping up EC course that talks about number 1 and number 2, how to wrap up with pure EC and how to wrap up with my hybrid plan. And that is linked to in the show notes there as well. But at 14 and 15 months, we can start that wrap-up process if we haven't already. Baby is asking for completion by resisting at 14 to 15 months. This is developmentally when they want to be done. Now, what about 18 to 24 months? Well, often resistance occurs when a new baby is born. So if they're 18 to 24 months and you have a second child at that time, we often can have some resistance. The key here is to engage that toddler in helping to potty the new baby and showing them what to do. Sometimes the 2-year molars are coming in, so we got some pain here. And we want to address that by addressing the pain. Or life gets busy and mom or dad stops prompting the baby to use the potty and they feel like they shouldn't have to anymore because they're done and they've been good for months. But the thing is, you still have to keep prompting. We'll talk about that. Just zoom out and see what else is going on in your baby's life if you get resistance during 18 to 24 months. If you're still using diapers, do a potty training experience at 18 to 24 months with my potty training book and stop it already, because that will be your solution out of this. Regarding prompting after completing EC, it is so dang important to keep supporting your baby until you no longer see the need, or until you just go through a whole day and you're like, wow, I didn't have to prompt once. We still remind, as an example, our 4-year-old when he does a fantastically brilliant pee-pee dance and will not stop his play to pee. Luckily, he's fine peeing outside because he pushes his waiting limit so far he can't make it to the bathroom. We say, Cooper, go pee. Plain and simple reminder. So after completion, you have to continue to take your child at times that make sense. Be matter of fact and stop, or do not ever do it if you can help it. Stop asking your child if they need to go pee, if they're known to not give you a yes answer when they mean yes. Hey, it's time to go to gymnastics. Place your child on the potty. They go. You move on with your day. So lastly, I want to talk about the importance of privacy and how it solves the potty resistance problem. I want to remind you guys that absolutely from 8 months onward, I want you to give your baby privacy when going potty. 6 to 8 months, they start to want privacy because remember, they could just crawl outside and go wherever if we lived the way we lived for hundreds of thousands of years. They need privacy. It is biological. It is an instinct. It is something that keeps our home spaces disease-free or has for so many years. So in this case, you want to use the toilet seat reducer on the big toilet if they don't stay seated or won't go on the mini potty. You can use the mini potty again later. Don't worry, just for this period. You want to use the seat reducer if that's you. Then you want to turn your back and put your focus on something else, including the option of leaving the room to grab something that you forgot. If you feel safe leaving your baby on the toilet for just a second, your child will usually go potty right when you leave eyesight. Okay, so that's how to give privacy. Now here's the most important group from the survey. Lastly, I want to share with you this most important group, those who experienced no resistance at any age. 8.4% of those I surveyed reported no potty resistance at any age. And again, potty resistance doesn't mean you're bad at EC or have done anything wrong or your child's not getting it. It means that they want more independence or something is going on developmentally for them and you just need to stay the course and be patient. So if I took 8.4% of my 17,000 current Instagram followers, for example, that would equal 1,428 people who experienced no resistance. That is great news. My point here, you guys, is to not expect resistance. I did not have any with my first or second babies. The third gave me hell around 17 and 19 months because I didn't take him out of diapers soon enough. The fourth resisted a little bit from 12 to 13 months, but we just stayed the course and did that. Put him on the potty seat and turn the corner and come back on the big toilet. And it worked. And my fifth hasn't resisted at all unless you count poop, but that's a whole nother story that we covered in the constipation episode. So I have 2 takeaways from today's show. What I want you to take away from today is 2 things. Number 1, do not expect resistance. And number 2, if or when you do have resistance, solve it immediately by offering privacy, teaching part of the process. You can get my board books if you want to teach the whole routine in a fun way. Or you can solve resistance by moving from diapers to undies or doing a potty training experience, finishing it up. In other words, do something and re-listen to today's episode if and when that happens to learn how. Now I'd love to hear from you. Just head on over to the written version of this podcast over at godiaperfree.com/96 and let me know when your baby has shown signs of resistance. I would love to see what more people's experiences are. So I'll see you over there. Till next time when we'll discuss ECing boys. Happy pottying, y'all. I'm Andrea Olson, and you've been listening to the Go Diaper Free podcast at godiaperfree.com. I'll see you next time. There we go. Please comment below. When has your child shown a resistant period? Do you have any other questions? And hit the bell and subscribe, and I'll let you know when the next video is up. Take care.